What is up? Welcome to One Question with me, Mr. Sharp. I'm so excited to have you here today. If you're new to the channel and you're looking for ways to get kids excited about reading and the latest and greatest in children's literature, click that subscribe button down below. If you click the bell, you get an email every time I upload a new video. Today on the show, I am super excited to have Michigan educator Ben Rhymes. Ben is an amazing, innovative, creative thinker who's doing some amazing things in Mattawan schools. So excited that Ben could stop by today. I was talking with Ben and he was telling me how a big thing for him this year is to help students and teachers deal with the fear of failure. In making the switch from 3rd grade to 5th grade this year, one of the biggest differences I have seen is how much more nervous and scared and worried 5th graders are about failing than 3rd graders were. They just get so nervous, and I feel like so often it prevents them from creating things that they want to create and making things that they want to make, and they are just more apprehensive when it comes to taking risks. It seemed like a good idea to ask Ben what we can do as teachers and educators and librarians and principals to help our students, to help the other teachers in our building that are afraid to fail. Because we all know that that is when the greatest learning happens. That is when making the best things happen, when you're willing to take a chance and step outside your comfort zone and create something awesome.
Hey, my name is Ben Rhymes. I am the Director of Curriculum and Instructional Technology for the Mattawan Consolidated School District, and I am afraid of a lot of things, but specifically what I wanted to talk about was a fear of failure, a fear of taking risks, anxiety over not being able to do a good enough job or not being able to pass a test, or just not being able to succeed in whatever it is that you want to do. I see this a lot in myself. I see it in other educators and administrators, and increasingly I'm seeing this in students as well. A lot of that anxiety over doing well on tests, over performing really well on graded work for teachers or on big assignments, things like that. And here are a few things that I do to try and help me overcome that failure. The first thing is I surround myself with reminders. So right here at my desk, pinned up behind my workstation, is my manifesto. And I do this every year, and my manifesto is just a list of simple things that I want to be able to do every day in my job. So things like I will share at least one story from a classroom with others every single day, either through the district's Instagram or through a tweet or through a face-to-face conversation. I want to create something every day to share. I will go ahead and practice my listening skills. I need to make sure that I'm better at listening, right? Things like that. Now, do I do all of these things every day? No, I don't. But that's okay, because by taking the time to have that in front of me when I do fail or when I don't take a risk and I come back to work the next day, instead of feeling bad about it, I've got this reminder here in front of me to say, oh, okay, look, hey, you didn't get these done. That's okay, right? What can I do better today to try and meet my own goals that I've set for myself? So you can call it whatever it is, a manifesto, goals, ideas, to-do list, but having something that you've taken the time to write down and have as sort of like a personal goals, something I can do these, right, is something that will then help you when you do wind up in a situation where you've failed or you haven't performed as well as you think you should, something that can help get you back on track. Now, the second thing that kind of ties into that is reflecting. You really need to think about previous experiences when you start to feel that stress and that anxiety. So let's say like you're going into a test and you're really, really worried that you're going to fail this test, right? Think about the last time you were going into a stressful situation over a test or an assessment or an assignment, something that was really huge and you were going to get a really important grade on, right? Think about, were you successful? Okay, what did you do then? What did you do that helped make that successful? Repeat it. Did you fail? Don't think of it as a bad or a good thing. Think of it as a, well, if you failed, okay, what were the things I did before going into that big test that led to that failure? Don't do that again. Try something new, okay? So reflecting on that really helps. And then in conjunction with reflecting, finding someone that you can talk to, specifically someone that can help coach you, right? So I'm not talking about finding someone that can tell you, hey, you know, you're going to do a great job, give you a pat on the back, you know, it's going to be good. Not that kind of person, right? Somebody that can be honest with you and that can help you reflect. If you can't go through that process that I just described on my own, you know, think about a previous success or a previous failure. What did you do that led to that, and what can you change about it? Find someone that can do that for you, that can ask you those questions, help you reflect. Not somebody that's going to help judge you whether you're good or bad or the actions are good or bad, just walking you through that process. There's actually a few workshops and schools of thought around this that are specifically designed for schools and for people working in stressful environments like schools. One is called Cognitive Coaching, and it's actually a really great series of workshops that are designed to help you be metacognitive, to think about your thinking, right, and help you reflect. And it actually works better when there are two people that help each other out there. And then Adaptive Schools. And Adaptive Schools takes that cognitive coaching concept and actually brings it into the school environment. And it can be very beneficial, not just for the adults in schools, but for students in schools and for adults and students together in schools. So having something like that can be really huge. The last tip I'm going to give you is to start small, okay? If you're walking into an environment that you're just like, I'm not prepared for this, or a situation in which you don't think things are going to go well, go ahead and think about what you are already good at. You see the Legos? Whoop, right back there behind me. I love Legos. I love building with Legos, but more importantly, I love coming up with little icebreakers and team building exercise that involve Legos. And so when I'm walking into a new situation, I have to facilitate a conversation or put together a presentation, or you know, introduce a group of people together that have never worked before. I like to go to that and think about how can I use what I know about Legos and how people like to build to create some type of activity that can help pull us away from the, you know, our real world problems for a moment, and really think about things in terms of building with Legos. I know it sounds kind of corny, but it works for me, and it's just and it's something that I'm successful with, and so I like to build on that. So the last thing Mr. Sharp asked me to do was to ask you all a question. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to ask you the question that is right here. This is a paperweight that I have on my desk. Remember when I said surround yourself with reminders, things like, hey, this is what you want to be able to do or accomplish. And it's pretty simple. What would you do if you knew you could not fail, right? What would you do if you knew you could not fail? And in all fairness, I should probably answer that question myself. If I knew I couldn't fail, I would probably move out to Los Angeles and become a voice actor, because I would love to be the next voice of Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon or some other great series of cartoons. I think that would just be a blast. And if I couldn't fail at it, I'd do it in a heartbeat. So there you go. The question is yours. What would you do if you knew you couldn't fail?
Ben, thank you so much for your answer. I've actually been to cognitive coaching training, Ben, and it was amazing. If anyone has an opportunity to do that, it's a long training, it's an intense training, but I learned so much about working with other educators and working with my students. Kate Messner actually asked that question, what would you do if you could not fail? So if Ben's asking it, if Kate Messner's asking it, it must be a really important question. So I want to know, what would you do if you knew you could not fail?